Hi, this is Dirk Slamer from Bosch, and I will give you a quick overview of the Digital Auto Playground. You can access this simply by going to playground.digital.auto. This tool is about rapid prototyping and validation of ideas for software-defined vehicles using API standards from the Connected Vehicle Systems Alliance, COVESA. Naturally, when building applications, we will start with the connected vehicles interfaces. You can see them here on the left side. There is a catalog of about 700 APIs for sensors and actuators. In COVESA, this is called the VSS. And we have a range of different functions here, starting with the vehicle. Next, for example, the cabin, as you can see here. Body, powertrain, and so on. So the general idea is that with this system, we create a mapping between the VSS catalog and functionality. So you can see here, we can even load a three-dimensional model of a vehicle here that helps us to basically identify where we are with respect to the functionality. In the next version, we will have little pins indicating in the model where we are. So take here, for example, wiping as a function where we want to have, for example, the status of the wiper in the front of the car or the status of the wiper in the rear of the car. So each API that we can see here has a data type, a description, and so on. And in addition, in the playground, we're adding things like dependencies. So when you, for example, go to wiping status, you can see here one dependency is used by the Smart Wipers client. And then additional dependencies like the implementation status, lifecycle status, visibility, who should be able to access this API, and so on. Next, what we want to do is we want to build projects. So in our project library, we have a number of different projects, for example, vehicle user profiles. So this is very much about providing vehicle drivers and occupants a custom experience with respect, for example, to the seat, steering wheel, HVAC, and so on. So for this, of course, we need to access these different functions here. Right? Or take diagnostics and subscriptions, which is very much about sending wear and tear parts to the vehicle owner at home on demand. Or another example here, Happy Dog. The idea is to use an onboard video camera to detect the mood of a dog, and if the dog owner is shopping, maybe send him a notification if the dog starts barking or getting wild in the car, and then maybe you can interact with the dog and actually open the sunroof for the dog a little bit, so in order to soothe them. Another example here is smart wipers. So there's actually a lot you can do with wipers, but the very basic example here is really just assuming that if, for example, the door or the trunk of the car is opening, then we actually want to shut down the wipers for safety reasons. So here, for example, we need the vehicle cabin door API and the wiping status. So let's look at the prototypical implementation here. We have the code on the left here. So as you can see here, we have mapped the VSS API to Python, and we're importing this. We're creating an instance of the vehicle. Then we are actually registering a listener that is defined here. So on trunk is open changed. This will be called. And if the trunk is really open, then we are setting the status of the wiper to off. Okay. So here we are actually registering this function, and then we are actually turning the wipers on to speed medium. And next in this code, we're opening the trunk, which should trigger the listener that we have just registered, and then we're just playing around with this a little bit. We're getting the status of the trunk, we're getting the status of the wipers, and we're printing this out. So let's have a quick look at how this looks in our dashboard. So you can see here, this is a dashboard that has all the vehicle components and application components like a smart hub in here as simple mockups. And we can simply run this. So we click on run. This is now actually importing all of the 700 odd VSS APIs in Python. It's taking a second, and then it's actually executing the code here. So you can see here all the statements that we saw in the Python code have been executed. And down here in the VSS monitor, we can see, for example, wiping status was called twice and trunk is open was called once. We can even run this again in debug mode. So here again, for example, we see, okay, we're importing the API that we need. We're creating the instance of the vehicle. We are subscribing the function that we have just called, and then we are actually going into turning on the wipers, and this is then for the first time actually calling the status here in the API and so on. So you can see here, we're going through this. Now we're calling is open. So this is a neat way to actually see what is happening in this Python code. We can also see again which APIs we have used specifically in this Smart Wipers program here. So it was status and door. And what's also really important is that we have a set of test values. They're not yet properly displayed here, but will be in the next version. But this is what we're basically using to feed the program with test values. And naturally, the idea is that in the next step, you can take the code out of this simple playground and then actually deploy it to a real edge device. So we've been working with the standards organizations in this space to ensure that we have Python language mappings, which will also map to a full implementation of a software-defined vehicle as it is, for example, coming out of the Eclipse Foundation right now. So with this, I hope I gave you a good overview of this project. If you're interested, follow us on LinkedIn. You'll find us on playground.digital.auto. Thank you.